Welcome back. My name is Nick, and I have Kyle here with me, Pecos with a Zero on Instagram, and today we are going to be talking about the Orange Holy Catholic Bible. Is that right, Kyle?
Yes, you're very correct. Yes.
And the
Orange
secrets it holds.
The big OCB, buddy.
Just so you know, we covered tons of videos here, ranging from Spice to the Bene Gesserit to the Spacing Guild. Like, you name it, we're covering it for Dune. We're super excited for the second movie on Dune coming out on HBO Max. By the way, we also make cool shirts on the bestnerdyshirts.com. You can go get your Dune shirts, to Severance, to Succession. You name a show, we're covering it. We're making shirts for it too, so go to thebestnerdyshirts.com. Kyle, by the way, helps out with a lot of the different artworks for the shirts, so go follow him on Instagram, Pecos with a Zero. And now we're diving into the only
Very good impression of something from Monty Python, I assume.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And the Holy Grail.
Yes. Okay, well, a little bit of a preamble, just to always keep coming back to this. Because I know, like, we're seeing a lot of comments about the extent, like either the extended canon of Dune or stuff that happens later on in the books. That's awesome. Love that. But what we're going to be covering is basically the time period during the first, like, 2021 Dune movie, and like the first book in the 6-book series by Frank Herbert, right? So just the Dune book, right? So it's going to be covering the history from its origin to the current time period during the reign of Emperor Shaddam Carino IV, and the what's called the Arrakis Affair, right?
So really quick, before we jump into it, I have a quick question. The Orange Catholic Bible, was it before the AI uprising?
So we're going to get into that.
I'm excited.
But, yeah.
Let's do this. Okay, preamble.
Yes. Okay. No, the preamble's done. Now it's time for the overview.
And
right?
You didn't mess it up like Mark from Severance, hopefully.
Mark, you skipped the preamble.
Anyways, that's
Right.
Severance.
Hey, that's a deep cut right there. I love it. Okay, so the Orange Catholic Bible, a.k.a. the OCB, or a.k.a. the Quran Jiyana Zen Christian Scriptures, aka the Zen Christian Navaquran, or sometimes called the Accumulated Book, my personal favorite, is one of the most important religious texts in the known universe in Dune, right? So it's supposed to be a fusion of all significant religious thought in human history, with a strong emphasis on like religious beliefs originating on Terra, Earth, right? So from their names, like, we can derive hints as to their origins, right? And kind of their lineage of which religions they're derived from, right? So there are like 4 major religions that sort of branch off from this and like create a lot of the content within the Orange Christian Bible. So there's the Sari part of it could potentially be different meanings. There's some people that suggest it's a Finnish origin. Some say that it's from Cameroon, right? Because it means a lake or something like that, right? I feel that Frank Herbert added that so it could give it some air of mystery as to where it might come from, right? And then there is Mahayana Christianity. So, of course, Mahayana, meaning the great vehicle, is a major branch of Buddhism, which is practiced throughout Asia, like China, Tibet, Japan, and Korea, right? Though it originated in India, right? And then, of course, Christianity, which I'm assuming in this case is like multi-denominational, just a guess there, right? And then you have Zen Sunni Catholicism, that is like 3 different types of religions compounded together that merge, let's say, somewhere in our future, but in Dune's past, right? So Zen Sunni. So it had originally emerged from a schism among Mahomet's followers, right? Which had broken away from his teachings around like 1381 before Guild, right? So when we break down Zen Sunni, right, we think of Zen or Japanese Zen, right? So that sort of philosophical teaching, right? And then we also have the Sunni branch of Islam, which it means followers of Sunnah or way in Arabic of Muhammad, right? Or opposed to they're opposed to the political succession based on Muhammad's bloodline, right? And then, of course, Catholicism, for all of you people that are familiar with Christendom, Catholics, right? Catholicism, and then what we would call OG Christianity. Technically, if we want to go into Gnostic, if we want to go into Gnostic texts, that might be OG Christianity, or even Jesus, right? But, yeah, sorry, I got off track there, but yes, Catholicism. Let's say first establishment Christianity, let's say. And then we have Buddha-Islamic traditions. So, of course, it's a conjunction of Buddhism and just general Islam, right? So we can, like that, I love this because it's like this interesting landscape. If you kind of you can track the succession of the merging of different religious thought into these different schools of belief, and then it finally reaching to the OCB and the accumulated book, right? Which is just, since I've always thought that like religion and belief systems are a concatenation of ideas, right? And putting them into practice. This is a very interesting way of seeing its evolution into this singular entity, right? So it was produced by, the Orange Catholic Bible was produced by the Commission of Ecumenical Translators, in the wake of the Butlerian Jihad. So that's answering your question, Nick. So after, like during and after the Butlerian Jihad is when this book was starting to be, drafted and stuff. And of course, its supreme commandment is, thou shalt not disfigure the soul. And we're going to get into a lot more sayings in the Bible or in the OCB that hint at some of these other religious sources, right? And like you can kind of see it within that. So in the 2021 movie of Dune,
do we see an Orange Catholic Bible?
So that's the thing. Gurney Halleck is seen reading the Orange Catholic Bible and quotes from it several times, as he did in the and he did this in the novel too. So the book prop is actually a copy of the 4 books of true Christianity by the 16th century German theologian Johann Arndt, right? So it's just a stand-in for like a miniature version of the OCB that he can reference, right? And then the name Orange Catholic Bible isn't mentioned on screen in the movie. So Villeneuve said he scripted the scene from the novel of Dr. Yue giving Paul his wife's old copy, explaining that it is the Orange Catholic Bible, but it was cut for time and pacing reasons, right?
That's why we need that extended edition.
That's right. We might see it on the extended edition. So now, some devotees of the OCB in Dune, or at least some of the more prominent devotees of the Orange Catholic Bible are Dr. Yue, of course, right? And then Gurney Halleck, right? Because we have him quoting scripture and also reading from it and stuff like that. And then so now I have a list of like favorite, like just like quotes from the OCB that like kind of come from the books. Like I think it's interesting because when you read them, you kind of get hints as to where their religious philosophies kind of originate from in that saying, right? So now some of these are just obscure, right? But like, yeah. And on the 7th day, he rested, right? With he being capitalized. Of course, this is from, the book of Genesis and in the Bible, right? And then thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. So that's in like a format of like the 10 Commandments, right? But of course that isn't from the 10 Commandments. No. But it's a commandment they added later for the OCB, right?
It's like in History of the World Part 1. I give you 15, 10 commandments. Remember he drops one?
Exactly, dude. Yes.
Where's the other 5?
And then now this next saying is kind of is a derivative of something we also see in the Bible, which is the meek shall inherit the universe, rather than the meek shall inherit the earth.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, that makes total sense. That also reminds me of Life of Brian. Why are the Meeks so special?
you're yes, folks, every one of these is going to have a Monty Python quote somewhere in it.
I mean,
No.
it's true, right? Like when he said, like, remember, because like Jesus is on the hill and like they're at the very back of the line, and they're like, blessed are the cheesemakers. Did he say cheesemakers?
Yeah.
Why are they blessed? Anyways,
man.
back to the
Your memory for Okay. So this next quote is pretty long, but I love it. So, men finding no answers to the Sunan, the 10,000 religious questions from the Sharia, now apply their own reasoning. All men seek to be enlightened. Religion is but the most ancient and honorable way in which men have striven to make sense out of God's universe. Scientists seek the lawfulness of events. It is the task of religion to fit man into this lawfulness. So that's like, I love this because it's this clear sort of trying to structure a place for both science and religion to coexist, right? And it kind of hints at like, I just like to think that religion evolved into the future to be like more compatible with a modern sort of society, right? Rather than it being divisive and like, no, you have to strictly believe this and do away with certain scientific stuff, right? So it's trying a way to sort of evolve and coexist. And then the next quote is, "When law and religious duty are one, your selfdom encloses the universe." And I thought that was really interesting, right? Like, there's so many of these that I wish I knew like what they were derivatives like from.
I don't know that one for sure.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Some of these could be just purely original within the OCB, right? But like, I just thought that was a really cool quote because like, if we think about a religious experience, right? Like, like meeting the Godhead, right? Like you kind of do feel that like because you are one with the universe, you are also a part of God, right? So you encompass the universe, you enclose the universe, as that quote says. So I thought that was really cool. And then, "Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind." We've touched on this quote before because that has direct connections to the Butlerian Jihad and why everyone is so anti-thinking machine. So it became outlawed that you make a machine in the likeness of a human mind. Otherwise, you get the same events with the Butlerian Jihad again.
And that's because of the Orange Bible now.
It is, well, that rule is instantiated by the Orange Catholic Bible, right? And it's become such a mantra that it is enforced, within like a sort of, not like, I don't know if it's written into law, but it's definitely something that is societally like punished, right?
Okay.
We can.
Is it etched into stone?
One might think. Also, like all I know is that the Tleilaxu always flirt with that commandment, right? They're always like maybe making something almost like thinking machine technology, right? And they always get a little sidelong glances because they're getting too close to that stuff, right?
If you fly too close to the sun, you're gonna get burned.
Yeah, that's right. And then religion often partakes of the myth of progress that shields us from the terrors of an uncertain future. Yeah. Yeah. And then, "The universe is God's. It is one thing, a wholeness against which all separations may be identified. Transient life, even that self-aware and reasoning life which we call sentient, holds only fragile trusteeship in any portion of the wholeness." So it's interesting. Yeah, it's talking about like, it's so interesting because the universe is so vast and like to our perspective and sense of time, timeless, right? As if it's been here for a really long time that we can barely fathom those numbers, right? And that like, the time span of a human life is so fragile and short, right? Especially when they talk about the self-aware and reasoning life, which we call sentient, right?
Yeah. It's also interesting too, because we were talking about what it was inspired by with all these different religions and stuff, but it sounds like it's only one God still.
Yes, Yeah, it
Mhm.
seems very monotheistic in its
Yeah.
in its retention. There is one here that I'm going to call out that I distinctly feel it felt like a Zen koan almost.
Mm.
So we'll get to that. But yeah, definitely, because if we think about it, we have Islam,
Mhm.
we have and we have Christianity,
Yes.
and then of course, because of by rote, Christianity is derived from Judaism, right?
Yeah.
So we have
Those
a
all
lot of
kind of branch
monotheistic.
from the same one.
Right. And then technically you could like Buddhism doesn't necessarily have like Buddha isn't necessarily like the God, right? Buddha
No,
is
yeah.
we could consider him a prophet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so also anyone who is a practitioner of these religions and I'm misrepresenting it, I chalk it up to me being very ignorant of other religions. So if you have any facts you would like to throw my way, I am open to them. It would be great to understand more about them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To help us better understand the Catholic on the Bible.
exactly. So much.
I don't know why I keep putting it to the top of my head, but I feel like I can read it better.
Isn't that from the
Correct.
Holy Grail where they're slapping their heads with the boards? The
Oh
monks?
yeah, they are.
Yeah. Dunk. Yeah. Deo toro requiem. Yeah.
Amen. Okay.
Okay, so the next we have fun here. All right.
Oh,
So
gosh. Okay.
So then the next quote is, much that was called religion has carried an unconscious attitude of hostility toward life. True religion must teach that life is filled with joys pleasing to the eye of God, that knowledge without action is empty. All men must see that the teaching of religion by rules and rote is largely a hoax. The proper teaching is recognized with ease. You can know it without fail because it awakens within you that sensation which tells you this is something you've always known. So that is something that I would say I have had an experience with, which is you encounter God or whatever you want to call God, that it's as if you've always known it. It's inherent. It's almost like an instinct that oh, this is what this is, right? Even though you've had no other past experience with it, you can kind of and it's touching it's touching on that because it's talking about how like a lot of religion is learned through like rote and rules. And that this is a false way in which to approach religion, right? Because there is a lot of religion that revolves around your personal relationship with it, and also around your experience in touching enlightenment or touching the divine in some fashion, right?
Yeah.
And then the next quote is, paradise on my right, hell on my left, and the angel of death behind. I feel this is a quote from like literature somewhere, but
yeah, what's in front of you?
The future maybe. I don't.
Spice
That's a great question, Nick. Could be a cliff. You never know.
It could be, huh?
And
then we're gonna cut to the Last Crusade with Indy. He takes the leap of faith.
Right. And then the next quote is, some lies are easier to believe than the truth. This just sounds like a perfect like colloquial or just like saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some bit of wisdom,
Yeah. It's something Master Oogway would say from Kung Fu Panda, I feel like.
There you go. Yes. Yeah. And then the next quote is short but simple. Knowledge is pitiless. So yeah, I think that
those.
I love that.
And those are all straight out of the Orange Catholic Bible.
Yes. And then fate and hope only rarely speak the same language.
Wow.
Which, yeah, like that's that got me thinking for a little bit, beware the seeds you sow and the crops you reap. Do not curse God for the punishment you inflict upon yourself. Interesting.
So is the Orange Catholic Bible available to read?
Huh?
Is it an actual book, or is it only what we get from the Dune books?
So I want to put it to the comments.
Okay.
Like, does anyone know? Did someone actually did Brian Herbert or did some crazy like devoted people publish something that would be the OC that would be considered the OCB? Let us know.
I just know this might be a cool shirt idea. Orange Catholic Bible, anyone?
Yeah.
bestnerdshirts.com. All right.
There's that plug. Okay. And then this is the last quote. Think you of the fact that a deaf person cannot hear? Then what deafness may we not all possess? What senses do we lack that we cannot see and cannot hear another world all around us? Right. Yeah.
Those are all great quotes.
Yeah. Very, very profound and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I mean, like, it's weird because this is a fictitious book of religion, of like future religious scripture, right? Like, but still, like, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, if we think about it, religion as like a road into wisdom, if approached like through certain channels, it can give you quite a bit of perspective, right? In the sense of like, you know, like one's spiritual cultivation, right?
And kind of guidelines for living, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like the 10 Commandments, you shall not kill. That's something everyone kind of
those are pretty foundational, you know? Pretty foundational.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, so that is
the Orange Catholic Bible.
That is the good old OCB.
Hold on, are we ending the video? Should I?
Actually, I love it. That was perfect.
Reminds me of Irving. Do you remember when Irving put the egg in one of the books in Severance?
Yeah. The deviled egg.
Yeah. Sorry, that's a different show we're covering, by the way. If you like the show Severance, we're covering it here with
Nick's just prepping for our next recording.
Yes, because we are doing an Irving video there. Is there any other things you want to talk about with the Orange Catholic Bible?
You know, I just think that you know, Dune has such a political and spiritual element to it, and I just think that it's very fitting that we have this sort of book within that universe, because it, like, some chapters begin with quotes from the OCB. Right, so it's really cool because they kind of set it's like the preamble before the chapter that kind of is the sort of vibe, you know, that we kind of read throughout the chapter. So you know,
and it's also interesting too because you have the AI that they shut down.
Yeah.
And you kind of have other religions. You can say the Bene Gesserit is a form of a religion. You can even say the Spacing Guild is too, even though we know it's kind of like a business stuff, but they do have these rules and guidelines they live by, and they're not reliant on AI. So they're almost kind of like everything's like, even like the idea of taking the spice and the way you take it stuff, it's almost like a religious kind of ceremony you kind of go through and cleansing and stuff almost.
Yeah. Too. So I guess like if we want to boil down religion to like its basic components, we could say that it's a belief system that has specific rituals and doctrines that are adhered to, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, and like you just said, I think that's very true for the Spacing Guild, for the Bene Gesserit, because they each have their own goals, which we could call them beliefs, right? Because they are working towards those goals, right? Just like in Christianity, one would say your goal is to live a good life and go into heaven, right? And so like, with the Bene Gesserit and the Spacing Guild and like these other institutions, right? They have their own ways of going about stuff and like in like indoctrinating people and also doing their rituals, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So,
Dude, thank you so much for the deep dive into the Holy Orange Catholic Bible. That was so much fun. Let us know down in the comments below if you enjoyed that, if there are things we missed, or like Kyle said, if there was something we got wrong, please feel free to correct us.
I have no doubt missed at least one thing. If I were a betting man, yes.
We have rough notes, but it's more of a discussion when we come on here, or Kyle just talking at me. And
all right, Nick, sit down, shut up. And
By the way, if you guys want to follow Kyle, he's really into sci-fi. He has his own little sci-fi project he's doing on his Instagram, and also collabing with other people too. So go to Instagram, Pecos with a 0. Go give him a follow. He does amazing sci-fi artwork. He also does cool stuff for us here at the bestnerdyshirts.com. Go check it out. We have this cool Dune shirt. We have a really cool poster with Arrakis with the dust coming up with the eyes. It's so beautiful. It was all Kyle. He's the amazing artist. Go give him a follow on Instagram. Go to the Best Nerdy Shirts. And just so you know, every comment on these videos are entered to win throughout the month. We pick someone to win a shirt. They get to choose it, which is freaking awesome. If you like our shirts, I guess it's freaking awesome. If not, it's still cool. You get a free shirt. Maybe give it to someone who needs it. And on that note, we'll see you on the next AsArt. That was the best.
I like the book shut. I like that.